Okay, we are live. Alex, great to see you today. Thank you so much for joining us on the SoftEd David Manica profile LinkedIn live sessions. I do a ton of them. Glad to have you here. We're talking about AI-driven marketing mastery. So, Alex, why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Alex Townsend. I've been a career web developer, graphic designer, digital marketer, and I recently got into automations, Gen AI automations, and building them and designing them and really enjoying it. There's a lot of new applications and platforms that are out that make this easy. Relatively easy. You still need some technical skills, or technical skills are very helpful.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good things to take advantage of.
So
And
you got into
I
it.
want
So
to thank you.
how long did you go to get into it? How long did you go to get into utilizing the Gen AI tools for marketing ops and marketing tech? And what tools did you start off with, and then what have you kind of morphed into?
About a year ago, I started seeing videos. I watch a lot of videos on YouTube about all different tech. They're always in my feed because I'm always searching for tutorials on different things. And so automations, videos about N8N particularly were coming up, and also Make.com and Zapier, which are three of the biggest automation platforms right now. And
Can you go over those three again real quick? The three that you play with?
Sure. So Zapier is pretty well known.
Yep.
And that's probably your most entry level platform.
Yep.
It's the easiest to use, but it's also the least sophisticated. So these go in terms of sophistication. And next is Make.com. And Make.com is even more popular. And that sits somewhere in sophistication between Zapier and N8N. And then N8N is very powerful.
N8N. N8N. So yes. The letter N, 8, the letter N.
Yes. And
is that one of those 8987 or 789?
I'm not sure what it refers to.
I think it is kind of maybe a mess with that. But okay, so now tell us about N8N.
So it's an open source platform, which is something I also prefer. Whenever possible, I like open source platforms because you get to see what's underneath everything, and you often get to adjust, edit, tinker with what's underneath and make it your own. And N8N is one of those. And so N8N, unlike Zapier and Make.com, you can self-host.
Yeah.
There are versions, enterprise versions, that are paid versions if you want certain features, but most of those features are not required to do even enterprise level automations with it.
So about a year ago, you start playing around with these three tools, and what transpired? What happened?
I was pondering where I wanted to go next in my career, and I had been thinking about starting a digital marketing business, which actually seems kind of insane in this climate at the moment. But I started along that endeavor, and I started making automations for the end, and my own automations. And I was having a lot of conversations with people, and I just noticed that everyone was yawning when I talked about the digital marketing aspect, but everyone was focused when I was talking about the automation. So I was like,
oh my gosh, I got to know more. I got to hear more.
Yeah, I think, so I figured with the digital automation, the juice wasn't going to be worth the squeeze in with the marketing, and that the automations were going to be worth way more to my bottom line. And it was also interesting. It was something new. I have all the foundational skills to get into it and quickly excel.
Yeah.
But it's something also new, and there's discovery there and excitement. And so, I'm back into a stage more like my early career, when web development was new and WordPress.
Yeah. So we talk a lot about that for people going into Gen AI, that continuous learning mentality, the iterative mentality, which you're going to talk about a bit here and a little later, associated with your prompting strategy, but that you have to walk into this knowing that it's a constant learning process.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is that what you're seeing?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, constant. Yeah. If I take a week off from paying attention to what's going on and checking out the AI news, I feel lost.
Like,
and
what's going on? What's happening? What happened here? What happened there? Where's this going on? When this thing's rolling out?
And I'm thinking, if I can't keep up, how is anybody who's not in the middle of it keeping up?
Well, the key here is that's our job, is to help folks who are using the tools stay abreast and know what things to do and what things not to do. And with that said, so what are you seeing in your practice? What are you seeing as some of the best opportunities for marketers to automate specific functions? What are you seeing from a specific function or specific operation? What's going on? Tell me more.
First, from the most foundational level, you want to think about start with the things that you do regularly that don't require a lot of thought. Mm-hmm. First, handle those. Or things that require some thought, but maybe you're not so regular with them. So the two I like to discuss are, as easy ideas, is email triage is a good one, because we have some of those things. Google has some of those things going, but when you have your own system, you can set it up in such a way that you have an LLM look at your emails as they're coming in, mm-hmm. and make decisions according to your own company information and company goals and interests, and categorize them, but not just categorize them, flag some as mark some as red, so you don't even need to look at them because they're unimportant, flag some as super important, and then even take other actions. So say you have some emails that you want to have, you can have an LLM draft your responses for you. So you come in and you already have responses drafts. All you have to do is check through them, make sure they're right, send.
Mm-hmm. You can also, now, this is for your individual email, or is this for some of the marketing campaigns that you're sending out, or is this both?
I use this for the main email for our company. I'm implementing this, and that's another one is two scenarios that I want even more than that response. So if I get an email through our website where someone's interested in our business and it's a legit mm-hmm. email, I don't want to just know about that or have that flagged. I want a text sent to my phone. I want to know right away so I can immediately respond, because the difference between responding in an hour or 3 hours versus the difference in responding in 5 minutes is, I don't know the exact statistics, but according to some different research, it's a few 100%.
Yeah, so significant. So you're getting some automation where something's coming in, you're getting automated communication. No matter where you're at, you're going to know that happened.
Right, and I'm not just being bothered by every email that comes through. An LLM, according to my own, the prompts that I've written for it, is interpreting and saying, oh, Alex is going to know this email is important. This one's about a legit sales, or this is an error that someone's reporting, or an issue that they have that's super important that somehow I wasn't otherwise alerted to. So those I want to come right and disturb me, whatever that I'm doing.
Now, are you doing that under a Microsoft platform? Are you doing it under a Google platform? How does it make a difference?
Oh, it has no difference. You can use any, well, not any, but many, and most of certainly the most popular email platforms, and you can connect N8N with it. N8N connects natively with 850 plus and counting apps and APIs. So with be their API. So it's almost plug and play with a lot of these things.
Can you do this with each salesperson? So can you wrap this up in if they're running HubSpot emailing, can you wrap it up in HubSpot and be able to have each salesperson, based on the round robin the leads come in, that they're triaged in such a way?
Absolutely. Yeah, and really the sky's the limit. it's whatever you can think of, whatever apps you use and platforms you use, that now the information might be siloed and difficult to pass from one to the other. Make.com, N8N, these automations can sync them all.
You know, what's interesting is that I agree with you that the sky's the limit. But what I've found is that, you know, people get stuck because they don't know what use cases to work on. So
Sure.
I love this first use case that you talked about, which is the email triaging.
Mhm.
What else have you seen from a use case perspective in some of these other automation cases you've been working on?
Well, content generation is another big one.
Yeah.
So everybody knows how to go to, at this point, most people know how to go to ChatGPT and make
Yeah.
a post and a picture. But they're not necessarily, so it can be time consuming. So sometimes for me to make a LinkedIn post for my business, for me to go and first research some trends, go to Reddit or some other place and research some trends in my field, and then just, you know, have some thoughts about that. Maybe use ChatGPT again or Claude to give me a suggestion of what I might post on, and then go through those suggestions and pick one. And then once again, another iteration, have the LLM create the post for me. And then I got to go post it.
Yeah.
And I got to make sure that I do this regularly. And it's also a good idea that I post at opportune times.
Can you automate the posting process? Have you tried to use any of the tools to say, all right, this is my editorial schedule. I want to write on these things. Go ahead and do these articles once a week.
Absolutely. As long as there's API access, you can do it.
Yeah, so that's really interesting when the marketer can say, all right, I might be managing someone's profile, so I set up the editorial schedule for that person. I got it hooked into their ChatGPT, and I could begin having articles written based on that editorial schedule. How have you been doing, or have you done much work around training the system to work off of people's voices? Like, have you trained your system to work off of your voice and the content creation side of it?
I haven't gotten into that yet, but that's actually pretty easy. It's no harder than anything else, because text to speech and speech to text are also pretty robust at this point and pretty convincing even. And so have you heard of 11 Labs?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So 11 Labs is a very popular platform where you can, once again, with N8N, connect via the API and have text to speech. So it's really just adding a couple nodes to any workflow and having your API key for 11 Labs. And you can immediately start talking to your workflows. You could set up a larger agent that has access to all your other workflows and say, okay, you know, Siri, your own Siri, my Siri, can you go and write an email to Chuck and do this research first and draft it, and then tell me when it's done, read it to me, and I'll check off and you send it.
Yeah,
all verbally
through, and whether you're using Google Mail or using Outlook, you can do that.
Yep.
And is that go ahead?
They call it's part of the automation is what's called a webhook, and that's anytime the automation goes out and connects to like an interface or something like that. So
what you're saying now is that we all know about how to do, not a lot of folks on this session know about doing content, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now you can actually automate the content to be outputted, whether it's outputting on a LinkedIn article on a consistent basis or sending emails out yourself. You can actually automate the schedule for that.
Right. And then you can coordinate that content generation and posting also with your website.
So we got a question here. How do you manage your N8N models?
Could you be more specific about what you mean by a model? Do you mean different workflows? Do you mean?
We'll wait till that person throws their second part of it in there. So, give me a third automation. So, what else have you seen So we talked about this idea of content and automating the content to be shot out on a consistent basis. We talked about email triage. Is there another automation flow that you've seen folks that have been working on a consistent basis?
Well, everyone has custom flows. So there are similar use cases, but everybody's platforms and apps are different. So there's a lot of crossover. And like, it's like a Venn diagram where you can have, so the Gen AI workflow that I just mentioned, you're talking trend analysis, content creation, scheduling, and posting, right?
Yep.
So you can string those together in so many unique ways. You can bring in SEO and keyword strategy into it. We already talked about market research and insight, ad campaign optimization.
So the ad campaign optimization is a really interesting one. But going back to the NAN question, the person said yes. So what you had said, they said yes to.
Well, you can, as far as organize them, like keep them organized.
Yeah, give them some thoughts on. Just go in your mind based on what you're thinking. Throw 3 or 4 ideas out that would be relevant.
Yeah, I'm just not sure exactly what they're looking for. You can create on the server. I'm running the server myself in my own N8N instance. So the way that I organize and arrange my folders and things is up to me.
Yeah, do you do it by client?
I do it by campaign.
Yes, by campaign. Do you organize it by campaign?
Individual clients.
And then within each client, is there multiple campaigns, and you organize it by?
Well, it's not a campaign. It's an automation.
And so do you have multiple automations going on?
Yeah, you can have multiple
So you say like the email triage automation, and you might say the AdWord optimization.
Right.
So you have these different automations running. So that's how you're setting up. Here's my client. Here's my automation. So someone might want to set it up by maybe Google AdWords. Here's my AdWords, and then here's all my automations for AdWords and emailing. Here's all my automations for emailing. And then
automations can always interact with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So you can separate your concerns. I like to make the smallest automation that makes sense as a complete and standalone entity. For instance, with the automation I'll show, with error handling, we have a separate workflow for edit.
Why don't we go ahead and bring that up as your why don't you go ahead and bring that up? Let's go show some of the workflow that you had previously in the green.
I wouldn't necessarily show this to I would show it to a client, but I wouldn't highlight this to a client because it can look scary. But this is what the actual automation workflow looks like. So,
is this in NAN?
I'm going to show you N8N running on my own VPN.
And the answer to this question is yes. He has multiple automations working for clients. So each client has different automations, and this is the thing that we struggle with in this environment when you're working in the Gen AI and the Gentic space is the use case. It's all use case driven, but the use cases are highly customized. So you have to start with some ideation with your clients, and then you can start breaking down some of those different use cases specific to their needs. And we see this in the training side significantly. So when you get I'm going to show you. I brought it up the stage. So go ahead and give them some thoughts on this, Alex.
So here, each one of these items is called a node. And there's many different nodes that are available. There's all different kinds of nodes. So here's a set of nodes where an AI agent, and this is specifically Anthropic, Google Gemini, OpenAI, things that you do know OpenAI, you do know Gemini, you do know Claude here. So these are some AI models that are available right there.
Yeah.
Here's some different actions. So here's a connection to Agile CRM. So you see popular apps that you know and platforms in here, because you can have nodes that connect natively to some of these. And you can just have a generic node that's a code node. And in here, We're going to tell it JavaScript, Python. Now, this is called low code, and some are also called no code.
Or even getting into the idea of vibe coding as well.
Yeah, so I think it's best if you don't have to learn JavaScript or Python to work on N8N. It does help, though, to understand it. And you can get some of these solutions vibe coding if you're good at vibe coding. But once again, if you are a coder, vibe coding, you're going to have an advantage.
Yeah. And we have a whole session on vibe coding where we started talking about not just the code itself, but talking through what script language, what data protection schemas, what frameworks you want to work with, and things like that. So is this an actual workflow for a client?
This is a workflow for my own business. This is a workflow for posting on LinkedIn.
All right, so tell us what transpires on this. So if you look at this automation, what happens?
Okay, I'll tell you. So here's your trigger. This can also be set up as a schedule, but at the moment, this is a button for me to push to start the workflow. Okay.
Yep.
Let me delete this because I added this and it wasn't unnecessary. So now what I'm going to first do after this goes to the trigger and it's executed, it goes to, this is a Postgres node. If you know about databases, PostgreSQL is a type of database, open source once again. And so this node goes and gets a query, and it queries a database, and basically in this data table that exists in Postgres, I have a set of keywords, and via a UI, you can swap out these keywords for whatever keywords you want at the moment. And then so it takes these keywords, and then for Reddit, it goes straight into this node. And so there's two paths. And what it's going to do is going to go first on one path and then get to this merge node, and it's going to come back and do the second path. And each path, what it's doing, it's going to a different source of trend information. So what it's doing is right here, it goes to Reddit.
So it's reading through, you got this keyword, starting to read through the information associated with that keyword, right?
Right. And then it goes to Reddit with those keywords. And it does a search on Reddit for articles about those keywords. And then this node is a code node, which takes the results of that query and processes them and scores them to make sense in what's a popular trend versus what isn't. And then we get another entry into the database that takes that trend information from Reddit and inserts it into that.
And if you could pop off the JavaScript on the right side to give the window a little bit more length, that'd be great.
Yes. Yeah. So then it comes back, and then it needs a little translation to go into Hacker News because they have a different API.
Yep.
And then it gets processed the same way, and then a row gets inserted into a table with the trending data, and then it merges together, and then it executes an SQL query on the whole table.
Yeah.
And then this code gets that query ready to go into Claude. And right here, Claude, an LLM, just like ChatGPT, analyzes all that for trend data. And makes a judgment on what are some trends that we should pay attention to.
Yeah.
Then the workflow goes into another database, what's called a vector database, which is very good for LLMs to query. And anytime you want an LLM to know your company-specific data, your information about your mission, your goals, your history, whether you want to power a chatbot with that information or any other tool, a vector database is what you go for that. And so this queries a vector database about Prairie, our company, specific information that we want known.
Yep. And ties it to that trend if the trend is relevant.
Well, the next one does. So this prompt, it readies the information for the next LLM call, which then takes all that information into account and suggests 5 titles for LinkedIn posts for my company based on current trends.
Gotcha. Excellent. Excellent. And then because we only have a little bit more time, I have a couple more questions for you. Sure. Ultimately, you get to that last thing at the bottom right, which is it posts to LinkedIn.
Yeah. So we create, there's somewhere in here, we have a human choice. Yep. And we create a post based on our decision. It's yep. formatted and it's posted. And okay. This is something how right here, this is how a user would interact with this. They wouldn't have to, my client wouldn't have to go and see this spaghetti code.
So you basically create a user interface in front of this
right.
for your client to actually set the automation up.
Right. They can turn it off and on. They can yep. select the topics that they want to post on. Mm-hmm. They can add new keywords. Exactly.
Yeah, so basically you create a service where you can sell, well, let me get us back here. You can actually sell interfaces in the 8N8 based on the automations you create for your clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. So tell me about your prompting strategy. So I read a couple things on you, and you are very, very adamant about strong prompting. So what are some of your thoughts on that?
Well, you definitely don't want to just like hunt and peck. You want to educate yourself and learn the rules, because an LLM is going to give you some answer no matter what you put in. And even if you put in a prompt that's not really engineered very well, you're still going to get a return, and it might be not far off from what you wanted. So you mm-hmm. might think, oh, I'm pretty good at this, but then to get that last 10-20% to exactly what you want, that's a lot more of a trick. So a good general way of prompting is you want to start a prompt with a summary of what kind of response you want.
Yeah.
You set up a premise. So 4 things, I guess. You set up a premise of like, this is your job, okay? You tell it what you want, mm-hmm. you tell it what you don't want, and then you tell it how you want it.
So from your experience now in the automation side, are you working more in your NAN environment than in the native large language models? Is that large language models just being fed information from the stuff that's gathered from NAN, it looks like?
So I think, relatively speaking, the N8N workflows aren't that difficult to get them set up and working. As long yep. as you have your permissions, like some of the biggest red tape you deal with is just the permissions.
To get into LinkedIn or get into the databases?
Exactly. Those are the hurdles.
Because ultimately, when you're posting to the LinkedIn, your client's either going to be posting to their company page or to a personal profile of somebody within the company, right?
Yes, and a personal page is easier to get access to
than the company page. Okay.
Your business page, you need access to the marketing API, which is an application and waiting and approval, whereas all the other approvals are instant. And
so from a marketing automation perspective, I'm the CMO. I want to have 5 people, high value people in my company posting 3 articles a week on LinkedIn. You can set this automation up so that high profile person has to do less than nothing to get those posts sent out for them.
Absolutely. I always advocate for a human in the loop though.
Yep.
You can set breakpoints in your automations where it'll wait, and you can then have like samples of what's going on and information go out to the UI where the user can then approve or disapprove, rerun it, or let it fly. And so the LLMs are smart, but they're not human, and they don't have human context and deep understanding. And having a human to check the work is crucial.
Outside of email and social, so we talked about the email triage side. We just had a long conversation about the social, specifically LinkedIn, from a B2B perspective. Just can you give me some few thoughts about the optimization you're doing in the paid SEO space? I mean, the paid ad space.
Well, see, companies like Google specifically, SEMrush in the SEO space, they have really robust AI features in their apps and accessible via their APIs. So to try to rewrite any of that rather than just consume it would be reinventing the wheel.
Okay, so you just work. So if I'm an SEO, was it Rush? I forgot how you pronounce that one.
SEMrush.
Rush, right? So it's going to have your agentic capability in there, and you just use it in there.
Well, it has its own. It doesn't have. I wouldn't call it a agentic capability, but it has. It's doing all sorts of AI related activity on the data that you're getting through SEMrush, and you can, if you go into and you check it out, you'll see what I mean. I'm not sure I can exactly explain it. There's just a lot of features of all their data already has AI applied to it, I would say.
Yeah.
But then my job is to connect that with your other platforms, I can take that SEMrush information,
and then feed it back,
use that to plug into my keywords.
Yeah, you can pop it back in. I have a lot of experience manually looking at keyword trends and be able to change course titles and information and articles that help increase viewership and registration significantly. So we hit our 30-minute limit pretty fast here, brother. Got a lot of cool things to talk about. Any parting words on automation itself, the tooling, anything associated with the configuration of the tools that you want to share before we go?
I guess I would say if you're a business person and looking to apply it for your own business, you definitely don't want to wait, because it's going to be I don't know how long it's going to be until this is all just plug and play.
Yeah.
There may be someday, I don't know, 5 years down the road, I don't know, but we're not near that yet. And if you're not automating, your competitors are, and they're going to be more consistent than you. And there's certain things I don't advocate for. A lot of people are trying to sell like sales AI where they answer the phone and do your sales and make sales calls. And I don't think the consumer's really ready for that yet. I'm much more responsive to a real human than that. But there is a place for having an AI answer your phone and say, I'm sorry, they're not available right now. I can give you a little information and I can send you a link for a DM. So like a sophisticated answering machine, but not taking the place of a human, right?
But you're also not treading on the sales side. You're on the covers on the marketing qualified lead side. Really, I mean, you're working or creation of marketing qualified leads off of using content marketing.
Sure, and there's different sales applications too. We can automate your invoicing. We can, collections. We can get into
the automation of collections calls is a really interesting concept. I mean, that we can spend a whole other bunch of time on. So anyways, I want to finish with the talking about the Gen AI Day. So Alex is going to be speaking at Gen AI Day, November 6th. $47 to attend if you go to www.softed.com. And Laura popped it up there, Gen AI Day, $47. You'll hear Alex talk again about this topic, as well as a number of other great speakers about agentics and generative AI. With that said, Alex, fantastic job, man. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, and thank everyone for coming. Thank you.